So, reviewing Fateful Findings has been quite the journey, and I use the word journey because I started watching Neil's films way back in April, and I've just been chipping away at the reviews ever since. This movie especially, because there's just so much about it I don't understand. At one point, I actually started to doubt that I was going to finish them, and the hardest part was probably going back and trimming them down so that they'd be a reasonable length. But I mean, I probably said this before in other reviews, but typically my reviews will be around, they'll come in at 4 or 5 pages, sometimes 6. This one's at 13. And this is after I've gone through and cut out all the shit that I didn't think was funny. So with this movie, I've done all that I could. And you know what the funny part is that even though I'm done writing it, I'm only partially relieved because I know that I still have to finish filming this, and then I'm gonna have to go through and edit it all. And I just have no idea how long that's gonna take. Now, if The Room is considered the Citizen Kane of bad movies, then that would make Tommy Wiseau Orson Welles. And if Tommy Wiseau is Orson Welles, then Neil Breen is easily the David Lynch of bad movies. And if any of you are David Lynch fans, you will know exactly what I'm talking about if you watch this movie. David Lynch films are very interesting. I love David Lynch movies, and I'm a big fan of his. And I'll just be honest with you, a lot of the stuff, I don't even know why I like it. I just like it. It's seriously, some of the stuff in his movies is just so weird and odd, and I wish I could explain why I like it so much, but I can't. I think part of it is that his movies, for some reason, they feel like dreams. That might sound weird, but if you're a fan of David Lynch, chances are you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when David Lynch does something weird in his movies, it always feels artistic, and I enjoy it. When Neil Breen does something really weird in his movies, I have to remind myself why I'm still watching it. So the movie starts off in the hall of a storage facility for some reason, and amongst the storage lockers we have a big book sitting on a stool, and then some sparkles get sprinkled onto it. What does it mean? Who knows? I've watched the movie and I still don't understand any of this shit. Like, it's not even stuff where I can look back and try and figure out what it represents. Not even close. I have no idea. But to be fair, this isn't even close to the weirdest thing that you'll see in this movie. So, get comfortable, guys, because it's about to get odd. So now we have these two kids just walking around having fun. This skull turns to look at them, and again, I'm just gonna blow right past this because it's about a 1.5 on a scale of 1 to 10 of all the weird shit in this movie.
Look, Leah, a mushroom.
Almost sounds like somebody is starting to laugh. I mean, can't you just imagine the boom mic operator standing there?
I'm gonna make a bracelet out of these.
And also,
It's a magical day.
why would you write that down? Is that supposed to be some kind of diary or something? And you took up the whole page? Is that the entire entry for the day? Just, it's a magical day? Oh, really? That's it, eh? No mention of the vanishing mushroom or any of the other weird shit you just saw? So then we get a voiceover from Neil saying that Leah had to move away when her dad got transferred and that he never saw her again. So this is him as a kid. This whole opening took place, well, judging by the kid's age and by how old he looks, I'd say 40 years ago, give or take. Now, here's the problem. Whenever you do a period piece or even just a single shot or a scene in a movie or a TV show or whatever, the thing that's really going to sell it as taking place during a different time are things like set decorations, props, wardrobe, that sort of thing. So if you're working with a small budget and you can't afford any of those things, your best bet would be to try and avoid any of those same things that might modernize it things that didn't exist 4 decades ago, like a Lexus RX 330 or a 2010 Ford Fusion maybe. So after Leah leaves and Dylan is left behind, we get this really quick shot of him now. Why? It's so quick. It doesn't cut together at all. And it cuts horribly with the scene after it, because the scene right after it is Dylan leaving the inside of a building. So that doesn't work. I understand you want to show what he looks like now, but you got to find another way to do that. Maybe, I don't know, get a closer shot of him as he's walking out of the building talking on the phone, because this shot of him with the blue sky as the background doesn't exactly cut with the next shot of him walking from the inside of a building. So Dylan's on the phone talking to his wife. Well, not really. I mean, we hear her talking and responding to him, but he's obviously not saying anything at all. Dylan is standing, and by the shots they use, it looks like he's waiting for the light to change, but from where? And look at all these people crossing the road too. Where are they? They're not beside him. We obviously know that because the last shot just showed there was nothing to the right or left of him. And they're obviously not across the street either. I could seriously go on about this until I'm blue in the face, but in the interest of saving time, let's move on to the part where Dylan drops his phone somehow and gets hit by a car. The puff of smoke appears again along with that stone thing he found in the mushroom jewel box. So after a while of being in a coma, still holding on to that stone, Dylan finally wakes up, gets out of bed, and I swear to God, if his gown somehow blows open, God damn it! I knew it was coming, I just didn't know when, and I don't understand why. I've said this in the last review, but the nudity in Neil's movies just seems so random and pointless. Was it really necessary to show us this? Now, from what I've heard, Neil is a real professional when it comes to making these movies. I said before, I really respect his ambition, and I'm sure he's a really great guy. I just don't want to see his junk. However, to be fair, the amount of backsack in this shot is nothing compared to the marble float we're treated to in Double Down, but still, I would prefer none of it, to be honest. So Dylan leaves the hospital, somehow finds his way home and into the shower, and isn't this just the pinnacle of romance in cinema? Cringy nudity, an awkward embrace, and of course, a really bloody shower. Neil's acting in this movie is more or less pretty much the same as his previous efforts, which is actually a good thing because I have to say it's pretty entertaining. Now, these are Dylan and Emily's friends. There's a storyline here about how the guy is an alcoholic, but it's completely irrelevant. I really don't understand why it's even in the movie. Now, throughout the movie, you're going to see some weird things, to say the least. A mysterious person wearing black pants and shoes may show up and do nothing multiple times throughout the movie. You'll also get a few shots of Neil naked in a dark room, to which, again, I can't see any point to. I don't understand what any of this means. I can imagine it's symbolic of something. I just don't get it. And I'm not going to make the effort to try and wrap my head around it because it's, I don't know. And there's many of these throughout the movie. There's one where he's got the other girl in there naked with him. There's another one where he's got that book from the beginning, and there's so much stuff in this movie that's not even close to coherent.
I feel like something's inside me.
Now, throughout the course of doing this show, you guys have heard me harp on about pacing time and time again, but I can't help it. It just comes up constantly. It's one of those staples of bad movies. Now, there's a sequence here involving pills, and I'd like to go over it just to show you the problem with the pacing. So basically what's going to happen is Dylan is going to decide he doesn't need his medication anymore, and his wife Emily is going to steal it. Seems pretty straightforward, but instead, we get this. Dylan looking for his pills, asking for his pills, Emily telling him she'll get his pills, opening the cabinet, stealing some, telling him she has his pills, bringing them to him. By the way, the audio cuts out completely for a few seconds here. You'd probably think there's something wrong with your speakers. I did. Dylan looking at the bottle and deciding he doesn't need them for whatever reason. Dylan standing in the bathroom, again saying that he's not going to take the pills, throwing them in the toilet, then just kind of tossing the bottle on the ground, I guess for someone else to clean up, because that's nice. A shot of the pills in the toilet, Emily making sure Dylan has left for a few seconds before reaching into the toilet water and taking the pills out. Dylan goes to visit a psychotherapist who conducts his therapy sessions in a boardroom, apparently. I can't imagine why this would be a good setting. I mean, talk about trying to be as far away from the patient as possible. Alienate them as much as you can. That's a good idea.
You were not making progress on your second book. I offered you medication that would help you.
I'm feeling less stable.
Well, that seemed like a good session. Looks like they made some real progress there. It's funny, but just by the placement of the coffee mug, you can almost predict what's going to happen. Now, I'm just going to take a wild shot in the dark here, but I'm willing to bet that a few of those computers were probably really old, maybe even broken, and that way, you get props like that, you can destroy them, pour coffee on them, throw them around, and it doesn't end up really costing you that much, but still gives the appearance of real production value. So they invite their friends and their daughter over for dinner, but watch out, dinner isn't even ready yet, and Jim's drunk again. He just had 2 beers in the garage earlier, and now he's knocking back another one.
Can I have some wine, please?
Oh, well, it's a good thing he didn't spill it on those appetizers. That bread looks like it took a long time to prepare. Watching Fateful Findings will most likely leave you feeling pretty confused and frustrated. And I'm not talking just about the bizarre symbolism. I mean in terms of the characters and what's actually going on with them.
I'm going to continue hacking into these government systems to see what I can find out about all this national and international corruption I know is going on.
Wait, I'm sorry, what? Am I still watching the same movie? So he's a hacker now? I mean, I thought this was just a typical movie about a young boy who finds a magical mushroom with the stone inside and then grows up to be a great writer who gets hit by a car and has a wife who's addicted to painkillers and a best friend who's an alcoholic having trouble with his own marriage. And now you throw me this curveball? I mean, I'm completely lost now. There's just no way that this thing could get any more convoluted. Now here, Neil goes from one scene to the next, but they both take place in the same location. When you do this, it's always a good idea to cut away to something else to show a passage of time and also just kind of break up the scenes a bit. In this case, I would personally use an exterior shot of the house. I feel that always kind of works well. But Neil chooses to go with a shot of his empty office. And he does this a few times, and it really doesn't work that well. It's just showing that, yep, he's not in his office right now. He must be doing his work somewhere else. Another thing is that when you use a sound effect, make sure that the person is still doing the action that would cause the sound effect. Now this scene is supposed to have some, I guess, playful romance. Yes, push over those broken laptops. Throw those blank pieces of paper. Rip those clothes. Kind of. In the scene leading up to it, Dylan and Emily have a fight over her drug abuse and how it's changed her. And that's it. It just leads right into the scene where they mess up his office. Nothing gets resolved. Why would it? Yes, let's just throw some papers around and totally forget about the prescription drug problem. I'm sure that'll clear itself up. Dylan goes to see a different psychotherapist, and instead of having an office that's too big, this one's the polar opposite. This is just a corner in a room. Oh well, at least she sprung for the high-end office furniture. And I mean, it should be obvious now that the acting is terrible, but I'm gonna give you another example of how bad it can get.
I knew it. There is another girl.
No, that is not true. I have not been writing another novel. I've been hacking into government and corporate international secrets all over the world. And I'm going to expose them all. And no one knows I'm doing it.
So Dylan and Emily are having a barbecue and invite their friends over. And for some reason, one of the doctors from the hospital shows up.
The doctor at the hospital.
It's nice to see you.
Okay, so you don't know her name, which I'm guessing means you didn't invite her. And to be completely honest, why would you? There's not a real connection there. She's just a doctor from the hospital. She wasn't even Dylan's doctor. She was one that just kind of checked up on him every now and then. So the question remains, who invited her then? Did she just walk into somebody's backyard randomly, hoping there would be a party going on? And it's not like one of those situations where it's a huge party and, you know, they were friends of friends who showed up. There's barely anyone here in the first place. I mean, there's their friends Jim and Amy, their daughter Allie. Here they are on the other side of the pool now. There's Allie again, and Jim again. And now the doctor and her fiance walk in. This is the entire party. So now she reaches for her phone and her diary pops out. The same diary that Leah had. And by the way, I just want to go back here. Listen to the sound effect. This isn't even like a ringtone. This is somebody dialing. Anyways, back to the diary, which pops out, which, like I said, is the same diary that Leah had. So that means that this is Leah, and I guess she's kept that with her all the time for the past 40 years? Really? I don't think so. I mean, it's not like she's still making entries in it. Look how thin it is. There's no way that thing is holding 4 decades worth of memories. And I'm just gonna point out, these people are supposed to be around the same age. Do they look like they're around the same age? It's either she aged really well or Neil just aged horribly. It's one of the two. And you gotta love the directing, acting, and editing here. Just watch a bit of this.
Well, we're looking very special today.
Get away from me, Jim. You're drunk. And stay there.
Well, it was so nice to meet you all. We're gonna have to go, but cheers.
So now it's the next day, I think, and Dylan is in his office doing something. Work, I guess. Who knows what the character is even supposed to be doing? Is he a hacker? Is he a writer? I don't even know anymore. Then Allie just shows up in his backyard and takes her top off in his pool. At first I thought maybe he's hallucinating or something, like Clark in Christmas Vacation, but no, this is actually happening. This girl is trying to seduce him. Why? Who knows? And then she goes into his house and tries to take a bath. You know, this might actually work if you plug the bottom of the tub first, because right now you're just wasting soap and water. So Dylan stops her, and then we have one of the most awkward scenes in the movie.
Please stop. You can't do this. Please, don't do it anymore. Are you going to stop? You can't do this anymore.
It's amazing at just how weird this scene is. I mean, her character doesn't even say anything. At one point, she looks right at the camera, almost as if to say, please, get me out of this movie. And what does this have to do with anything? Nothing! It makes no sense. I think I've reached the brink here, guys. Does it have anything to do with the plot? Of course not. Probably because there isn't one. It has zero impact, and to top it off, it's not even remotely believable. I'm sorry, it's not. I'm seriously not trying to insult Neil here, but why would this girl be trying to seduce this guy? I mean, they don't even give us a reason. Maybe if she was, say, an obsessed fan of his books, you know, like Misery type shit, she was crazy and in love with him because of his writing. You know, it's still not completely believable in this situation, but at least they would have tried to give us a reason.
I just found her swimming topless in our pool. Then I find her taking a bubble bath in our tub. I told her never to come over again unless she called first.
I'll call her mother.
Good.
Yes, good. Can't have all these young naked women walking around. Too much of a distraction. Trying to get my book done over here, or hack into something, I don't know. So Jim and Amy get in a fight again while they're drinking, of course, and Amy decides she's not going to take it anymore, goes into the garage, and kills Jim. And now I'm just gonna let you watch this reaction from their daughter here.
You killed him.
Dad! No! Allie! Dad! Don't go in there! Dad. Don't look! Dad! Dad! You didn't see anything! Dad! You know how he was! Dad! Go call 911!
So Amy tries to stage the scene to look like a suicide, but holy shit, I can tell Jim didn't marry her for her brains. Yes, just lie the gun right next to him like that with your prints all over it. And the shell casing too. I'm sure Homicide will have a real hard time cracking that case. So coincidentally, Dylan was coming over to their house to, there's actually no reason given, he was just there. And I love this death scene. It almost kind of reminds me of the death scene in The Room, at least acting-wise.
Jim! Jim! How could you have done this? Jim! I can't believe you committed suicide. I cannot believe you committed suicide. How could you have done this? How could you have committed suicide?
And for some reason, while Dylan is holding Jim, he wipes his blood on his face. I mean, you could say maybe he's trying to wipe away his tears, but you're gonna need some more convincing acting to pull that off. So Dylan goes and meets up with Leah, and they go back to the magic mushroom. Meanwhile, Emily decides to kill herself by taking a bunch of pills. I'm not exactly sure why. I guess she felt guilty because she thought she caused Jim's death by pushing him away at the barbecue. Now I'm just gonna skip through the cringy scene where they have sex by the mushroom. Dylan then comes home to find Emily unconscious, and you gotta love the sense of urgency here.
Emily! Emily! Wake up. Wake up.
Yes, when you find your friend lying next to a gun with blood everywhere, call 911, call 911. Come home to find your wife unconscious and unresponsive, just wake up. Wake up. Now, in this scene, Dylan tells Leah about how he's been hacking into all these government secrets. But honestly, I would love to read the script for this scene. Just the beginning of this scene, because of how bizarre it is. It might look something like this. Dylan's office, day. Dylan sits at his desk, stuffing spinach into his mouth, while Leah sits across from him, smiling. Dylan sets the plate awkwardly on top of some file folders, which collapse and cause the plate to fall on the desk. Leah looks shocked and then smiles. Dylan covers his mouth, concerned. Leah smiles. Dylan smiles back.
I can't wait any longer. I'm not ready for this.
Well, if you're not ready for it, then couldn't you wait longer? I mean, if you're not prepared for something, wouldn't you want more time to get ready? And you know what the funny part is? I have no idea what he's talking about. Ready for what? I seriously am completely clueless as to what this is even about. And now, here we go. As Leah is walking to the house, she gets abducted by someone, and just watch this. Is this not the most awkward looking thing you've ever seen? I mean, just look at the guy. He runs up to her, then does a little jig and kind of pushes against her. Anyways, he finally manages to kidnap her, but drops a card on the ground with his instructions on where to take her. And of course, instead of cutting away to something to show a passage of time, they just cut back to the exact same spot as Dylan is coming home, and of course freaks out when he finds her purse and can't get a hold of her on the phone. So he goes to the location, and the kidnapper is just sitting on the ground, dazed for some reason. I guess he's supposed to be drunk? Dylan can't get into the trailer without a key, so when the guy says he doesn't have it, don't know why he wouldn't, Dylan does the smart thing and knocks him out with the bottle because, yeah, that will help you get inside. So somehow Dylan uses magic or something to teleport into the trailer and save her.
We're going to get out of here, but you can't see what's about to happen. I'm going to put the gag back in.
Okay, wait, why is that necessary? I mean, I understand the blindfold. You don't want her to see the magic or whatever, but the gag? Okay, now I have to put the blindfold back on and open wide, because here comes the gag as I shove it back in your mouth. Dylan drives out to the desert, then meets up with some mystery people, but nothing happens. The book's out there, and then the book disappears. His therapist disappears. We're back at the house again with the weird stuff. I have no idea what's happening here. The mystery person bleeds a lot, and then it's morning. Dylan gives a press conference talking about how he's hacked into everything. This guy says his company was so corrupt and now he kills himself in front of everyone. The press conference just rolls right along. The senator hangs himself. Another guy kills himself. Same with this woman and this guy. It's really just a mass suicide at this point. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. Once again, I have no idea what happened. I don't even know how to summarize it because it's about so many different things and then tries to tie together so many different things that obviously have nothing to do with each other. So that's pretty much it. I really hope I didn't miss anything. Actually, I don't care. I'm done. I'm so done with this movie. This took me so long to write, and I don't even understand. I mean, wait. So who kidnapped his girlfriend? Like this goes completely by the wayside. Why was she kidnapped? Why was she kidnapped? And who did it? We never find this out. What does this have to do with anything? Is this the people trying to, keep him quiet or something for exposing the government secrets? Well, yeah, these are real pros. Kidnap the girl, then go get drunk outside the place where you kidnapped her. Oh, and make sure to leave behind the business card with the instructions of, who would give the kidnappers the instructions written on a business card and then signs their initials at the bottom? Why would you sign the instructions of the kidnapping? Why would you do that? Honestly, guys, it's so hard for me to pick the worst movie I've ever seen doing this show so far. It's really hard. This is definitely, I don't know, this rivals Samurai Cop, because at least Samurai Cop, they were on a mission. You knew what was going on throughout the movie. Doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. The marble float retreated. That's gonna be one of those. That's gonna be one of the ones that's gonna make me laugh all throughout editing as well. I like that one. Sitting there. Imagine me sitting there just trying to come up with the most grotesque, revolting terms possible for showing your sack on screen.